Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So it has been a while since I did a champion review and I really want to get to making more of these, and today we're going to be taking a look at Guillotine 2099. Now she is quite an exciting character because she always kind of entertains the idea of what's possible or how heavy she can potentially be ramped up, and realistically there isn't even much of a content in game currently where you can see her actual max damage output, because at the beginning of the fight or shorter fight she is quite underwhelming. So we are going to take a look at Red Hulk in Labyrinth of Legends. We are also going to take a look at Old Man Logan. Then we're going to jump in Act 6 here and there, and we're going to go over through some pluses and minuses of the character. So a few basic things to know: she's essentially kind of like a Crossbones mixed with Star-Lord with some other things in between, and quite unlike any other champion. So her base kit ability works as the fact that she cannot crit with her own regular hits unless you activate a pre-fight ability. There are two pre-fight abilities. One of them let you crit on every 20th hit. That doesn't sound too much, and in reality it really isn't. However, it can be useful here and there, because if you manage to time that 20th hit as beginning of your special 2, for instance, then all of the hits will crit, as I just demonstrated there. Additionally, the second pre-fight ability is probably the more useful one, and it gives her like a relatively small lifesteal on every medium hit. So that does give her quite a bit of sustainability, kind of an ability to cope with like recoil and chip damage. And Guillotine 2099, whilst being a robot champion, can handle suicides quite well because of this lifesteal to kind of like mitigate the recoil damage. You're obviously not taking any bleed or poison damage at the beginning of the fight, so that can work out quite well, and plus increase her damage output, obviously. And yeah, so those are her pre-fight abilities. So she cannot crit. Every hit that she does land, she gains an attack bonus up to 100 hits, and after 100 hits she starts dealing energy damage also based on her combo meter. Basically, the higher combo, the bigger the energy damage, and that is kind of like the main source of your damage. As we can see in the red over there, at this point already each and every single of our hits is dealing like 7,000 plus damage, as an extra added bonus damage. And yeah, so basically that can go up until 600 combo, and then she can deal some insanely massive damage in longer fights. So it's quite evident already that she is a marathon fighter. She is a long distance fighter, champion to deal with huge health pools and deal massive amount of damage, rewarding you not getting hit basically. At the same time, she's quite tricky and finicky to use kind of like day-to-day or for your casual fights and casual questing, and always will keep you on your toes because all of it is kind of based on your combo meter and not losing your combo meter, so on and so forth. And the damage output, even when you start at 100 hits, is nothing kind of like special. Even when you look at Act 6 fights, basically, there are many champions who can out-damage her very easily for the initial 100 hits, so to speak. So that kind of immediately tells you that she's not going to be your day-to-day champion. She's not going to be a questing champion you bring in to clear uncollected, or she's not really even going to be like your AQ champ, so on and so forth. She will be a specialty champ for more challenging content for higher health pools, for some very specific uses. For instance, stuff like spiked armor or the terminal velocity node, basically where you are punished for critting opponent, or some very specific matchups where you absolutely cannot and do not want to land critical hits. She also obviously has access to armor buffs, but then again, there are so many more champions that are better for dealing with Havocs than she is, especially that Havoc, once again, isn't somebody like with a million health pool. So there are kind of a lot of ups and downs for this character, and she definitely isn't for everyone. She isn't, for me personally, my exact kind of cup of tea. She's not a champion that I would want to kind of get to use immediately, kind of like Namor to a degree. She's there. I'm happy that she's there. I know exactly what are her upsides. I know what she can do. But for most part, for the vast majority of the time, she will be sitting on a shelf. And there is like the first takeaway point from today's video. If you have a relatively small or limited roster, do not invest rank up resource in this champion in particular. Definitely do not take her to like rank 5, and rank 4 is fair enough. She can still probably deal with vast majority of the content you will need her for, but do not take her up to rank 5 if you are limited in kind of like your rank 5 options. For instance, she would be fairly horrible choice as your first or second rank 5 in my opinion. The same as if you manage to pull her as 6 star. It's fantastic. You should be happy and glad that you have her there, but there are other champions who will help you out more day to day that should take priority for your rank up resources. And now that is not to say that she is a bad champion. She definitely isn't. There are a lot of very kind of like specifics and interesting hidden pieces of utility, or kind of like maybe not so easily seen uses for this character. And as we saw, I did get tagged earlier in this fight by a single hit, and that dropped me down quite substantially. But at the same time, slowly but surely, that regen, that lifesteal we have in our medium hits is taking me back up. So she has some sustainability. Do not expect miracles from that regen. It's not that effective. However, it's definitely kind of useful and helpful tool for you to navigate through these longer fights and recover some chip damage or a single mistake in this case. At the same time, keep in mind that she is a character that actually punishes you quite heavily for making a mistake. Now, unlike, for instance, Aegon, where if you lose your combo, you still have your pre-fight kind of combo meter, and you can more or less pick up where you left on from. Here, if you lose a combo, you will not only lose the current combo from this fight, you'll also lose that 100 combo bonus, which you worked to get for in a previous fight. Therefore, it always is extremely frustrating to make a mistake with this character, and she kind of makes you feel like you're a bit on the edge. You definitely do not want to make a mistake. She makes you feel a bit uneasy, kind of to a degree like Invisible Woman. Like if you make a mistake with Invisible Woman, you lose all of that work you put in. In this case, it's kind of even worse, because you'll also lose all the work that you put in the previous fight. At the same time, you can see that she does reward you in really generously with that damage output here. Only not even at a 200 hit combo, we're basically dealing 10,000 plus energy damage on our regular hits, so that is a massive damage output. There is definitely an argument that she is potentially the hardest hitting champion in the game, especially if you look at her like streamline damage, not just a single burst. She'll constantly go up and do more. Right, so I also mentioned the work that you put in the previous fight, and the idea there is quite simple. Her level 3 will knock out everybody and anyone so long as they are under 5% of their health. Now, it is important to keep in mind that some sort of damage reductions and cheat death mechanics still work, so you do need to be careful in which matchups those will fail and how you can try and get around them. Like a Labyrinth's 50k damage cap is still a thing, or if you're fighting Hela or Punisher, for instance, they can still cheat death, and then you're going to be in thick waters because you will not have enough time to build up to another level 3, and your kind of plan will fail. Back to the point. If you do happen to win the fight using level 3, you will start the next fight with a 100 hit combo. So in this fight, first couple of fights, I'm actually intentionally playing fairly sloppy, bad. I'm just being aggressive, not caring too much. And the good thing about that level 3 is the fact that you can lose combo in the middle of the fight. It doesn't matter if you're at combo 10, 50, 100, 200. If you finish the opponent at level 3, you can start the next fight with a 100 hit combo. It doesn't matter where your combo meter is at the point. Also, the problem with that though is that level 3 is the kind of furthest away special attack, and you do need to plan ahead. And for many of the fights, it will basically mean that you lose access to any and all of your special attacks, because you will have to start saving up your power for that level 3 if you want to start the next fight with a 100 combo, and you do want to do that. It's extremely important. So that is like one of the biggest downsides, what makes me dislike this character to a degree. It's because you lose the option and utility your special attacks provide. Level 2 has a heal reverse to it, and it is multi-hit special attack. Therefore, you build up your combo meter quick, and level 1 has a decent amount of power control associated with it. And that means there will be many fights where you can't access that, and that makes this character a bit more dull, a bit less interesting, definitely a lot more kind of tricky to play, and takes away some of her utility. So I'm not a big fan of that at all. And here I'm basically got clipped down to 2%. And that is kind of perfect. That's more or less what I wanted, because I wanted to showcase that we can finish the fight off with our level 3, and we can still start the next fight with a 100 hit combo. Also, this is gonna let us showcase exactly how well Guillotine can regenerate the health, either via her pre-fight ability or her last ability that I have not spoken for. The last ability basically is if you are below 15% at any given point, depending on how many pre-fight ability charges you have left, you originally start with 2 of these charges, and you can opt whether to activate one or both pre-fight abilities. If you do not activate any pre-fight abilities, you go in the fight with 2 of these charges, and those charges will give you kind of like a heal at the beginning of the fight. That is fairly substantial heal, to be honest, and will kind of like work to a degree pretty much like Iron Man's Arc Overload. However, in this fight, I did not opted for that option. I activated both pre-fight abilities, and I just wanted to showcase how effective is her own heal when you are fighting regularly, her lifesteals on medium attacks. Now, you have to be obviously extremely careful, especially because of the node destructive feedback. If I make a mistake, I'm toast. But at the same point, slowly but surely, we can make and crawl our way back up in health bar. But by end of the fight, we still will not have reached the 15% mark. So I will start the next fight without any pre-fight abilities active, and we can see just exactly how potent is that heal that you get from using these Digi Souls, or basically pre-fight persistent charges. And yeah, as you see here, I have already built my level 3. Now you do have to be careful not to accidentally kill that Gamora while destructive feedback is active, because we do need to launch that level 3 while destructive feedback is on cooldown and while she is under 5% health. So I'm gonna have to basically wait out another phase here. She's at 5%. I cannot touch her. I cannot really hit her. I need to make sure that she survives that burst damage from destructive feedback, and then finish the fight off with a level 3 attack, which is now. So you saw that in a medium level fight in Act 6, we basically were able to regenerate 11% of our health using pre-fight ability. So that is what you can kind of count on. It's nothing over the moon, but it's still good enough, I'd say, to recover some sort of chip damage and make slow strides. Now, we didn't activate any pre-fight abilities here, and we are immediately taken from 11% to 54%. So we basically regenerated about 43% health, which is a huge chunk, which does in fact make this Guillotine quite sustainable. You just need to know kind of how to manage her, and she can last a really long time. Once again, unfortunately, even Act 6 fights really don't make her shine when it comes to damage out, because there are definitely many more champions at rank 5 who would be able to finish these fights out a lot quicker, how maybe a bit more needed utilities for the specific fights, or well, just simple less kind of a risk gameplay involved, I suppose. So no, she's definitely not a great standard questing champion. She will be a specialty attacker, with her being robot, with her being a bleed poison immune, with her not landing her crits, which is kind of becoming more and more important as well. But yeah, as I mentioned before, she's not a champion that you will kind of casually want to bring in a quest and go clear your uncollecteds. She's a champion that will be there for you when needed, when called upon, but she's, well, let's just say it how it is. She's quite rubbish in day-to-day. Yeah, that's pretty much it there. And that's actually quite sad, because there's pretty much no single piece of content in game currently where she would be called the best at. Even Aegon completely outshadows her in Labyrinth of Legends. She's good, but she's nowhere close to Aegon's level when it comes to clearing Labyrinth. in terms of basically speed and ease, because Aegon goes unblockable, he can throw anti-wades, and it's just so much easier to use and stress-free, and a lot less kind of like items, or just much easier time overall. And there isn't a single piece of content where she really shines in the game currently. However, that soon might change. There's such thing as Abyss of Legends, basically leaked and announced to be coming out next year, and hopefully that will be a place where she can shine. So therefore, pretty much in conclusion, if we can say that Guillotine 2099 is a champion you should want to have. It's a champion that you should be happy if you have and you should try to get. But she's not a champion you should rush to rank up, because currently in the game, outside very few specific matchups, there's not much where she can shine and showcase her abilities to the fullest. And yeah, it's quite frankly not worth taking her to the max. Now, I have ranked her up because that is the kind of things that I'm looking for, very specific niche utilities. And in my case, the thing that kind of tipped me over was the fact that she can spend an entire fight without landing a single critical hit. And we see nodes like Spiked Armor and Terminal Velocity making their comeback in 6.3. We even saw it in this month Uncollected. And it's a very kind of niche specific area, and there are other ways around it, obviously, but I felt that it was one of those things that my roster was lacking overall. And whenever I rank champions, I typically like to have some sort of thought behind it in what could possibly be giving me some troubles or some node combinations or something that I was not able to deal with before but could be with this newly ranked champion. Now, that being said, again, that's very specific kind of niche lane. This is the lane that I'm talking about. And yeah, because it was Caustic Temper plus Terminal Velocity, so you basically need somebody with a Fury buff and somebody that doesn't crit. And yeah, she's pretty much the only champion currently in the game that kind of fits the bill. And also her non-critting thing kind of made Crossbones useless to a large degree, because that was the one thing that kind of held Crossbones in somewhat decent respect in my eyes, the fact that he was pretty much only champion in game that does not crit while striking opponents. And now we have Guillotine 2099, who also can basically turn her critical hits off. And yeah, so that basically put a last nail in Crossbones' coffin, I suppose. But that being said, outside of like this one matchup, as we can see, it's not even like that it is that easy to use her, because obviously the chip damage, she still needs to be ramped up. And as we're going to see in the next fight, we're going to get chipped down by that Punisher 2099 quite severely. And obviously, for this node combination in particular, Quake is always a viable answer if you use Heimdall synergy to get yourself that Fury buff and just Quake everybody down, which is exactly what I did when I was exploring 6.3. Or additionally, you can use the boost that Kabam has provided for Cosmic Champions, basically shutting off your critical hits. But again, that being said, what if there's no boost next time? I'm always slightly paranoid like that. And that is actually quite a big reason why I did rank her up, because the Terminal Velocity node definitely means trouble in future. But that will pretty much do for today. I hope you guys have a much better kind of understanding of Guillotine. Now, I didn't go through every single of her abilities. She does have a few more, like her signature ability can activate Safeguard if you get hit, depending on your signature level, up to 100%. She can also go invisible when she gets hit, and basically the opponent's attacks can miss, which is more defensive kind of like ability. Her level 1, as I mentioned, has some power drain. Level 2 has some heal reversal. Level 3 basically can knock down anybody so long as they are at 5% or less, and it also lets you carry over 100 hits on your combo meter. Other than that, the base idea is fairly simple. Get to the higher combo, deal more damage. Simple as that. You have 2 pre-fight abilities, which comes at the cost of your regeneration at 15% health, that either can make you crit on every 20th hit on your combo meter, and either make you heal up a small portion of the damage dealt from your medium hits. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how she works. She's obviously a robot, double immune, so she is quite an interesting addition. I definitely think she is a success as a character design overall. There are definite downsides of her combo meter being carried over only while level 3, and that being the hardest to attain special attack. Therefore, you cannot use your special attacks quite often, and in many fights you possibly won't even get to that level 3. Plus, it also kind of like makes it a bit tricky to play her. But more or less that will do. Let me know what you guys think about Guillotine 2099. And if you liked today's video, hit that like button, hit that sub button, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya!